Welcome to Two Broads and a Brit. It's not great, but it's entertaining. Mm-hmm. I'm Lynn Hartram, along with Caitlin Greer.
Yep. Hi. Yep.
And Lee Hazel.
It's open, it's frank, and it's a pile of old wank. There you go.
It's old wank? Old wank?
There's unwank.
I'm just describing the show as a pile of old wank. Yeah.
Old wank. What is old wank?
It means rubbish. Crap. Yeah.
Rubbish.
Yeah, pile of old wank. Yeah.
Right, I like it.
It means it's not very good. Yeah. On that note,
okay, goodbye.
We got that, but thank you for saying it in 50,000 ways.
Right. Shit. Yeah. Total shit. Hey, thanks for listening. Here we are. Yeah. Here's our shitty shit show.
Other than that, good afternoon.
Yeah. Very nice. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Dying.
Oh my gosh. It's quite the morning for all of us.
What have you got for us today?
Yeah. Well, today I'm going to tell you a little story about Delphine LaLaurie. LaLaurie, also known as Madame Lalaurie.
Okay.
For those who've watched American Horror Story, Coven, she was a character in there. She actually is a real person.
Mm-hmm.
The LaLaurie Mansion is still down in New Orleans. You can go see it. You cannot go in it, but you can go see it.
Have you been there?
I have, yes.
You can't go inside?
No, it's privately owned. So you can't go inside at this point in time.
I want to go inside.
Make a note here that I don't have a clue who this woman is.
And
well, I know a little tiny bit, only because
I don't know anything about her. So it's a surprise for me.
We're in for a ride.
And our three listeners as well. So, yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Buckle up.
Yeah. She a salty bitch, this one.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
We're so trendy. We're so trendy. We use words like salty. And
that's pretty much it.
Other trendy words that I don't know. Because I was going to say Fleek, but I think that's old. That makes me old. Do you have that?
Yeah. It's a planet in Star Wars, isn't it? Fleek?
You fucking nerd. I don't know.
I don't fucking know. I don't know. That's what it sounds like.
I'm just kidding. No, the kids would say
it's on fleek.
It's on fleek, like it's good.
Oh, right. Okay. They have sick. They use the term sick.
Yeah, we do.
That was from like the 90s.
Sick, bro.
No, that was talking about the 2000s.
Dude, I was like banging this chick and it was like fucking sick, bro. That's how.
Yeah.
Maybe just the Massachusetts version.
That's the Boston version.
Oh,
yeah.
I was pounding Bud Lights, kid. And it was like fucking sick.
It was wicked, dude.
It was wicked sick, kid. All right. Well, let's talk about this lady now.
Right.
On that note.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So sit back. Buckle up.
For
a ride. Hey, no problem. Just for everyone out there, we're acting like idiots because we've had very little sleep. No sleep once again.
I'm medium hungover. It's just a day. I saw stripper buttholes last night. Like I did. You see all of it.
Oh,
nice.
You like that I said buttholes because
not even 5 minutes in and we're into buttholes. I mean,
well,
speak for yourself.
Depends how far you want to go, Lynn. But
that's a different show. That's our After Dark show.
Caitlin and Lynn After Dark.
Yeah. We get down and dirty on buttholes.
I see a new show in our future. Oh my god. I just really like saying the word buttholes. I think that's the title for our show this week already.
Buttholes.
Buttholes After Dark.
Okay.
All right. On that note, now I'm crying. Sorry.
But we got 6 minutes before people switch off.
So. Okay, we better get moving.
They probably already left us.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our story. Delphine McCarty was born around 1775. We don't know exactly.
Okay.
She was one of 5 children.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents were prominent members of the New Orleans white Creole community. And Delphine's cousin, Augustin de McCarty, was mayor of New Orleans from 1850 to 1820. Just a little fun fact.
Right.
You know. So whenever I hear the word mayor, always want to say the mayor of Munchkin City. And it's just, is the mayor of Munchkin City? Like, that's all I can think about.
Oh my god.
So, anyways,
right.
go on.
Was he a little fella, this mayor?
It doesn't say, but I don't
Right.
believe so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
If he was the mayor of Munchkin City, he was a...
He was a very tall
That's
mayor
just
of
me.
Munchkin City.
That's just
Yes.
me being weird.
Yes. On June 11th, 1800, Delphine McCarty married let's see if I can get this right, Don Ramon de Lopez y Anguillos,
Oh, very nice.
a high-ranking Spanish officer at the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans, which if anybody's been there, it's the big giant church in Jackson Square. By 1804, Don Ramon had risen to the position of Consul General for Spain in Louisiana. So Louisiana, or New Orleans, in their histories, it was both French and Spanish. So I
Okay.
think the French were first, and then the Spanish came and took it over.
Okay.
Also in 1804, Delphine and Don Ramon traveled to Spain for some reason that I don't know what. I didn't write it down.
Maybe it was a holiday leave. Maybe she was larging it up in Spain. You know,
Well prepared.
I don't know if people, in
I have
1800s.
reread this.
Yeah.
I warned them, may not be good. It's fine.
Good preparation. It's marvellous.
Yes, I know, right?
She went to Spain, but I haven't got a fucking clue what for. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all good.
like our tagline. It's not great, but it's entertaining.
It's definitely
Yes.
entertaining.
No, I believe he did get I'm so sorry, I'm having issues here. I believe he did get a promotion, and that's why he went to like the Spanish court or something like
Okay.
that. But accounts. Okay, so this is what I was saying. Accounts do trip. Accounts differ. So in one account, it says he was getting a promotion.
Okay.
This person, Grace King, wrote in 1921. I don't know how she would know, but that the trip was Don Ramon's military punishment. This is strange. And that Delphine met the queen, who was impressed by Delphine's beauty.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Right.
Okay. So this other dude, Stanley Arthur, in 1936, he reported that on March 26, 1804, Don Ramon was recalled to the court of Spain to take his place at court as befitting his new position. Oh, so he's the guy who's like, he basically got a promotion.
Okay.
But whatever the reason, Ramon never arrived in Spain because he died in Havana en route to Madrid.
How did he die?
Sorry, don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nope, it doesn't say.
That's a mystery.
Mhm.
Okay.
But during the voyage, Delphine gave birth to a daughter.
So she was
his wife at this time.
right, and they were going.
They were
to
going
Spain,
to Spain.
and he died, and then she popped out a baby.
Yes.
I love the fact that they go from America to Spain via Cuba. I mean,
Hey, you do what you gotta do.
that's just completely in the wrong fucking direction. I mean, that's.
Well, not really when you think about where New Orleans is. It's the southern part of
I suppose so.
West. So they had to go around Florida, probably stopped off in Cuba.
Yeah, it would be
Either
just
way,
easier, quicker
like
to just go straight to Spain. But there you go. That's just me.
Fucking Steve. Steve the cat joining in once again.
That's okay.
Right.
Sorry. He wants chicken.
Steve the cat.
Steve has a lot to say on the issue.
Right.
So anyways, Delphine and her daughter then returned to New Orleans after. Daughter was still very young at the time.
Brand new.
Okay, so that was husband number one.
Okay.
Husband number one.
Yeah.
In June of 1808, Delphine married Jean Blanc, a prominent banker, merchant, lawyer, and legislator. Delphine popped out 4 more kids with him.
Ugh.
Blimey.
So many kids.
Right? So now she's 5. Yeah, I know. This is a lot for a woman. Maybe this is what the issue was. She had too many kids. Blanc died in 1816, so they were only married for 8 years. Doesn't say how. Delphine then married her third husband, physician Leonard Nicholas LaLaurie.
Dr. Fuckernuts?
It's Dr. Fucking husband. I'm just thinking by this point, maybe she's just got a little thing about wedding cake. You know?
Yeah, she's Madame Fuckernuts.
She's Madame Fuckernuts.
Lucky lady.
Lucky lady.
Lucky lady.
Lucky lady. So now here's the interesting thing. So this is her third husband. At this point, so Delphine was already fairly wealthy to begin with because her parents were well off. She's married 2 husbands, so now she's gained the wealth of both of those husbands as well.
Right.
So she really didn't need to marry. She was very well off at this point in time.
Yeah.
So she did what any good cougar would do, because she was about 40 at this point in time.
Life goals.
Married a 25-year-old.
Nice.
Goals. I didn't even know. I'm bravo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good job, Delphine.
You get that young dink.
Right?
You get it.
Right. So they were married in about 1825. And then in 1831, she bought, because she had most of the money.
Yeah.
She bought the property at, it's 1140 Royal Street, same place that it still is today, hasn't moved. Imagine that. And she managed to get it in her own name and had very little involvement. Her husband had very little involvement, which obviously is unusual for that time period.
Right.
Yeah. So bitch got stuff done.
Right.
Like she wasn't around. Yeah. And then they built the mansion there by, I think, 1832. It's a 3-story mansion. It's huge. Like it takes up the whole like corner of the block. It's pretty crazy.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah. And it also had obviously attached slave quarters. Slavery was a thing at that point in time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think some of her daughters must have been older at this point in time, because the accounts say she lived there with her husband and 2 of her daughters. So the other 3 were probably, in like late teens, early 20s, may have been married on their own at this point in time.
Pooping out their own litter of kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just popping them out. Yeah. That's exactly how it went when I gave birth. Boop, 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 3 out.
Yeah.
That's shooting them out like a bacon
whatever.
cannon.
I had C-sections.
What's it called?
Come on.
Bacon bazooka.
Bazooka.
A bacon
Whoa.
bazooka. She's a baby bazooka.
No.
Yeah.
Delphine was, for sure. Faux show.
My obviously I don't know anything about this woman, but my immediate mindset is she's up to no good. Now, obviously, I think, is she bumping them off?
Well,
I don't know why
we don't know.
That's what's going through my mind right now.
Yes, well, we don't know. We don't know how. It doesn't say how any of her first 2 husbands died, so we have no idea. But she did. She was still well known in New Orleans. She was very well liked by most people. They were, a prominent family still.
Mm-hmm.
It says that Madame Lalaurie was well known for her spectacular parties and galas, which she gave frequently at her home. She was one of the most well-known women in New Orleans society at the time, and it was said that her manners were sweet, gracious, and captivating. She was accustomed to, and I don't know what that word is that I wrote, to the good life. She was accustomed to the good life. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Early, little sleep, no glasses, no bueno. What?
She was, as they say, a lady to the manor boom.
A lady to the what?
Manor boom?
A lady to the manor born.
To the manor born, yes.
Yeah, to the manor born.
Lady to the manor born, yes.
Yeah,
lady to the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so that's what she sounds like.
She was, in fact, a lady to the manor born.
Well, you've got all you want, Lynn, but this is the show where I'm closing the list. Good night. Thank you for playing.
I got real nervous when the camera started going down. I was like, please have pants on. Please have pants on.
Please have pants on.
You're lucky this week. I'm dressed from the waist down.
It's a pants day. You're lucky.
Pants day.
I am doing the 50th show naked, but yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But anyway, I want to start with you. You're holding us up.
Right.
I'll be like this.
I'll be doing this show.
Can I see it? No, I don't want to see it. I don't like to think I don't think that any of my friends have genitalia. My male friends, they all have smooth spots like Ken dolls.
Nice. Right.
Is that the official term?
Yeah, smooth spot. Yeah. One of my
kicked in the smooth spot.
One of my friends I told him that and he goes, so smooth you could eat cheese off of it.
Oh. There's no cheese down there. No cheese.
Cheese platter.
Oh.
Right. Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah. Okay, so as we said before, this was during the time of slavery. And the LaLauries, like anyone in their style of class, maintained several black slaves. in the slave quarters that were attached to the Royal Street Mansion. Now, at the time, just to give you just a very quick little back history, and I'm by no means an expert, but in New Orleans, or maybe in Louisiana, there was something called the Code Noir. So basically, they decreed that you could not use excessive force, excessive cruelty on your slaves. You couldn't maim them. You couldn't, dismember them. Like, you couldn't cut off a foot. Like in some plantations, it's horrible to say, they would do this, like to keep the slave.
Really?
So in New Orleans, and they ruled that you could not do this. You could,
There's a code of honor, basically.
Yes, it was called the Code Noir. So, granted, it was still slavery. It was still horrible,
but with limits.
With limits, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, accounts of Madame Lalaurie treatments of her slave between 1831 and 1834 are mixed. Now, keep in mind, this is a woman of good social standing.
Right.
So there was talk, though, about how she treated her slaves. There was a woman named Harriet Martineau who wrote quite a bit. And in her writing in 1838, she recounted tales told by her New Orleans residents, or told to her by New Orleans residents during her 1836 visit, that claimed Lalaurie's slaves were observed to be singularly haggard and wretched. That's the quote.
Right.
So they're pretty shitty, in other words.
Yeah.
Today, right?
A lot of people you get on Tinder.
Yeah.
That's similar, description.
Yeah. Exactly.
Haggard and no use to anyone.
Haggard and wretched.
Wretched.
Right.
Yes. So, however, in public appearances, Lalaurie was seen to be generally polite to Black people and solicitous of her slaves' health, and court records of the time show that Lalaurie emancipated 2 of her slaves. So she did do that.
So nice.
Yes and no. I know at least one, I believe, was her second husband. Basically, this was kind of his dying wish that one of these slaves would be emancipated. And so she was just following through with his wishes. The other, I believe, was the nanny to her children. And she basically emancipated her because of, she felt that she, did a great job. And was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to emancipate. Rewarded her for good behavior, I guess. I don't know. Nevertheless, Martineau reported that public rumors about Lalaurie's mistreatment of her slaves were sufficiently widespread, and that a local lawyer was dispatched to Royal Street to remind Lalaurie of the laws relevant to the upkeep of slaves.
Like, hey, just in case you forgot.
Just FYI.
Don't cut off their limbs.
Right? Don't whip them.
Maybe just treat them like a person.
Right. Exactly. No, they weren't that good.
I know.
Come on. But during this visit, the lawyer found no evidence of wrongdoing or mistreatment of slaves by Lalaurie. Now, Miss Harriet Martineau also recounted other tales of Lalaurie's cruelty that were current among New Orleans residents in about 1836. She claimed that subsequent to the visit of the local lawyer, now this is one of the big stories that you hear if you go on any of the ghost tours where they say, this is a tale, this is the story they always tell. So she claimed that prior to the visit of the lawyer, one of Lalaurie's neighbors saw one of Lalaurie's slaves, a 12-year-old girl named Leah, fall to her death from the roof of the Royal Street Mansion while trying to avoid punishment from a whip-wielding Delphine.
Fucking hell.
Yes, listen, it gets better.
That's the better option for her to jump.
Right. Well, Leah was brushing Delphine's hair when she hit a snag, causing Delphine to grab a whip and chase her, as one would do. Because she hit a snag.
If
you'd be in
I would be if that was a thing. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh.
Yeah.
I might come to see you with my hair for my hair. I'm gonna bring my whip.
Oh, you put my hair 20 lashes.
Oh. So now, according to legend, yes, go ahead.
No, I'll finish. No.
Okay. I was just gonna say, according to legend, Leah's body was buried on the mansion grounds.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that story before.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, also according to Martineau, this incident led to an investigation of the LaLauries, in which they were found guilty of illegal cruelty and forced to forfeit 9 slaves.
How many did they have?
Yeah, I was going to say.
They were fairly wealthy, so it's a 3-story mansion. It's huge.
You get a slave, and you get a slave.
But the thing is, there's only her there, a husband.
Her and her husband and their 2 daughters.
And their 2 daughters. There's only 4 people there. I mean, how many
throw parties all the time, man?
But it's a massive.
Yeah.
It's a massive estate. Yeah, there's a lot of upkeep, I guess.
Right, fair enough.
One would require 23 slaves. No, I don't know how many they had. I'm
Yeah.
But definitely more than 9. So get this. So they had to forfeit these 9 slaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Delphine, it's not going to happen. So these 9 slaves were then bought back by the LaLauries through one of their relatives and then returned to the Royal Street residence. So got them back anyway.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Fucking manipulating the system.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine those people, though. That must suck. Where you're like, oh my God, we're out.
We're going back. Yeah, we're going back. Yeah.
And that's a nightmare.
Yeah, it really is.
Holy shit.
You going back. Yeah. So similarly, Harriet Martineau also reported stories that LaLaurie kept her cook chained to the kitchen stove and beat her daughters when they attempted to feed the slaves.
Chaining a woman to the stove sounds like the 1950s.
Right? This does come into play.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now, here we go.
Right.
On April 10th, 1834, a fire broke out in the LaLaurie residence on Royal Street, starting in the kitchen. Maybe better not chain a woman to a stove. I don't know why I sounded like I'm from the 20s. Hey, listen,
you sounded like a gangster then.
Chain a woman to the stove.
Listen here. You see?
It's one hot tomato.
She'll light a fire. She'll light a fire under you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So when the police and fire marshals got there, they found a 70-year-old woman, the cook, chained to the stove by her ankle.
A fucking Nana?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's like a fucking Nana just like making like
she nasty bitch. Like she nasty.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. She later confessed to them that she had set the fire as a suicide attempt for fear of her punishment being taken to the uppermost room. That was where they got punished.
I mean, it doesn't say a lot for the house, does it? Sorry. I mean, the house sounds like utter fucking carnage. I mean, you got a young girl jumping off 3 stories because it's the better option. And then you got the cook who's trying to kill herself. That's the
lighting herself on fire.
Right. Meanwhile, they're having parties and galas, and all this shit is happening, and nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
It all looks good from the outside.
All right, so she was scared.
So she set the fire, right? Because she was scared. One report this woman reported because she was scared of getting punished for, I don't know, she did something. Other reports say that she did it for another reason, which I will now tell you.
Okay.
He said that, because she had said anyone who's been taken to the uppermost room never came back. So she was scared of that. But I've also heard that when the fire marshals got there and they found her, she said, "Don't worry about me. Go up to the uppermost room. Go to the attic. You need to take care of the people there. That's why I started this fire."
Okay.
So there's kind of two stories. They both are fairly similar.
Yeah.
Bystanders that were watching this reported, or responding to the fire, attempted to enter the slave quarters to ensure that everyone had been evacuated. So they were basically trying to help out.
Right.
However, the LaLaurie said, not happening. They refused to give them the keys. Yeah. That's what these people are like. Yep. So the bystanders broke down the doors to the slave quarters and found 7 slaves, more or less. This is what it was quoted in this report. More or less horribly mutilated, suspended by the neck, with their limbs apparently stretched and torn from one extremity to the other, and who claimed to have been in prison there for some months.
What the fuck?
Yes. So I've heard you will hear different stories. There's one story that there was a woman who actually had an open wound in her head, like in her skull, like where her brain was exposed, basically. And there
what the fuck?
Yep. I've also heard stories that, now remember, her husband was a doctor. Okay.
Right.
So basically they were using these people to experiment on. So they would break the bones and reset them in like unnatural positions.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of rumors about what, like,
and I'm assuming, he's Dr. Fucking Ups. He's carrying out these experiments with no anesthetic as well.
Yeah. Oh, so, I'm sure they were slaves. They weren't people to them.
I mean, it sounds like a torture house, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, now you've got to remember too, a lot of these things are rumors. Not all of these things can be corroborated with evidence, like historical evidence. Right. So I'm sure some of it got blown out of proportion, but
yeah.
I mean, there are some horrible atrocities that we know were reported by the people who went in there. Like they had said that there were slaves that had like iron collars with spikes on them, so they couldn't move their heads. They had to like stay upright the whole time. I mean, it was horrible. Just like people with like broken bones. I mean, you hear all kinds of crazy stuff, like kind of weird, crazy medical experiments, that you can think of are part of these rumors.
They really were the fucker nuts.
Yeah, they were horrible. They were worse. They were worse than the fucker nuts.
All right.
I mean, this makes me look quite normal, doesn't it? I mean,
right?
With all the bodies under my patio, at least it was quick. At least
you're humane. You're humane.
Yeah. You're not like keeping them alive.
No.
That's not your game, though. That's not your MO. You don't want to keep them alive.
No. Each to their own, Caitlin. Each to their own.
Very true. I'm not judging. No judgment. Judgment-free zone.
One quick blow of my hammer, that seems to be.
Oh, now see every episode a little more.
It's like drip feeding, isn't it? It's drip.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're going to make a montage one of these days. I'm just going to put it together.
You should make that pay-per-view, that one.
Right?
If I'm going to prison, I want some money for it. I'll tell you
That's right. It'll be our highest rated video.
We'll give you money so you can buy chips.
Yeah.
At the commissary. You can buy your new boyfriend, some jewels.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Goodbye. Go on.
Okay. So this is kind of, I was ready to tell you all the gruesome details, but here's more of the like official reports. Okay. So one of those who entered the premises was Judge Jean-Francois Conong. I'm probably torturing that word. Conong. Who subsequently deposed. So this was a judge in the area, a local judge. Yeah. So this probably, I would assume, I haven't checked for myself, is on the record because he deposed this. That when he entered, he found in the LaLaurie mansion, among others, a female slave who was wearing an iron collar and an old female slave who had received a very deep wound in her head, who was too weak to be able to walk. And it was reported that there were maggots in the head wound at the time that she was found. So this is the one that
And she was alive?
She was alive. Yep. She was too weak to move, but yes, she was alive.
Maggots, man.
Yep.
Not for me.
Canong claimed that when he questioned Madame Lalaurie and her husband about the slaves, he was told in an insolent manner that some people had better stay at home rather than come to others' houses to dictate laws and meddle with other people's businesses.
Oh.
She's a straight bitch.
She is.
I like her.
Yeah.
I don't like her, but I like that she's kind of
like that she's just like, fuck you. This is what I'm doing.
She's basically saying, mind your own fucking business, isn't it?
Instead of telling me what to do, you better stay home.
Back up, bitch. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So a version of the story circulated in 1836 added that the slaves were emaciated, showing signs of being flayed with a whip, were bound in restrictive postures, and wore spiked iron collars, which kept their heads in static positions. So basically, they were just like tortured. Yeah. Straight tortured.
For fucking no reason.
Yeah.
But fun. Like that was, they were punishments? Was that?
No, I don't, it doesn't say. It doesn't say why they did it.
All right.
I think some of them might have been punishments, but I think some of them was just their sick, like sadistic natures. That they were just like, look, let's see what happens.
All right.
Yeah. So when the discovery of the tortured slaves became widely known, a mob of local citizens, gotta love these New Orleans folk, a mob of local citizens attacked the LaLaurie residence and demolished and destroyed everything upon which they could lay their hands.
Nice.
A sheriff and his officers were required to disperse the crowd, and by the time the mob left, the Royal Street property has sustained major damage and and in quotes, with scarcely anything remaining but the walls. So basically that they just tore that shit apart. They were like, no, we're not having this.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that. Vigilante justice.
Yeah. Now,
I like it.
here's where it's still the 1800s.
Yeah.
The tortured slaves were taken to a local jail where they were available for public viewing. The New Orleans Bee reported that by April 12th, by April 12th, up to 4,000 people had attended to view the torture slaves, quote, to convince themselves of their sufferings.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Please exhibit. We have slaves with holes in their heads. We've got slaves with collars. We've got all kinds of slaves. Come on down. Check it out. 25 cents a view. What the fuck?
Right.
Well, they were charging for this.
It didn't say.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Weren't
it was the jail, so I don't think so.
It reminded me of the story of you obviously heard the story of the Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
In he was in the shop's still there now. But he was in the back of what was a shop, and they were charging basically people to just a penny just to go and stare at him. Freak show, basically. This sounds similar thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with, remember original Dr. Fuckernuts, Carl Tanzler? They put her body on display once they found her, remember? And there was thousands of people that came to see her fucked up body.
Yeah.
I guess it's just humans are morbid.
I guess we're just sick.
Yes,
Sick
I am.
Okay.
You speak for yourself there, Caitlin.
Okay, so now this is it's been discovered. Her nasty little secret's been discovered.
Right.
What happened to Delphine LaLaurie? Well, you would hope, and I didn't just pick my nose, I was just itching it. Just FYI for the people watching the video. Had an itch. She picked it.
Last week you picked it, flicked it at me, and I fucking caught it. I mean, that was marvellous.
That's disgusting.
That was 1 in a million, that. I'll give you that.
Right. What happened to Delphine?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. This is not.
Yeah, but you just excuse, Lynn's trying to pick a winner, as they say.
Bats in the cave. Just bats in the cave.
Bats in the cave, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so now we're talking about boogers.
Right.
Buttholes and boogers.
Buttholes and boogers. The new title.
We call it bogey here, Caitlin.
What'd you say?
We call it bogey.
Bogey.
Buttholes and bogies.
Bogey.
Booger better.
Boogers is more American because it just sounds trashier. Oh, you've got a bogey.
Excuse me, while I blow my nose, I've got a bit of a bogey.
I've got a little bogey.
Fuck yeah.
Oh my god.
Imagine.
Okay. No.
Okay.
All right.
Keep going. She goes, no. All right. Good.
Okay. So, Delphine, let's get back to this bitch.
Yeah.
So, what happened to Delphine? She would be tortured, maimed, everything she did to the slaves. What happened? Well, it's not well documented. We don't know. But
what?
Yes. Martineau wrote in 1838, and this is the kind of prevailing theory that this is what they think, that LaLaurie fled New Orleans during the mob violence. So basically, New Orleans is right on the Mississippi River and right on the coast, right? So it's pretty easy, I guess, to get in and out of.
Just like me. Just pretty easy to get in and out of.
The face.
I missed what you said. That's why I'm pulling this face.
Damn it. I said that New Orleans was pretty easy to get in and out of.
Heard that bit.
Just like me. That's what Caitlin said.
Oh, right. I was saying, I didn't, sorry.
Jokes are funny when you have to explain them. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So basically, they thought that during the mob violence that followed the fire, that basically Delphine took a coach to the waterfront and traveled to Mobile, Alabama, and then on to Paris. So, basically she just lived her life out in Paris.
Yeah.
With no repercussions.
And about this time, she's probably in her 60s, isn't she?
No, she's still probably in her 40s or maybe early 50s.
Did they have...
She was born in 1775.
Approximately. Like, the date's different.
Yeah. So
she married her husband... She married her husband in, 1825, and she was about in her 40s. A lot of reports say. So I don't think she was.
Yeah.
I think she was probably more.
So,
well, I guess that would be.
Okay. So,
would that be 50?
I'm trying to do math.
Yeah, I know it's not working well. She was about in her 50s, let's say, at this point in time.
Has hubby gone with her?
No. Nobody knows what happened to him.
Right.
He kind of vanished during this time.
So they both just were like, "Oh shit!"
We're like, "We're outie."
Oh shit!
Yeah.
It's the mob.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
that's fucking disappointing,
right?
That's like a disappointing end to a fucking weird, fucked up story. So can I be myself here for a second? And can I ask, is there
like you fucking switch off, Caitlin? Yeah.
Is there more gross like stories about what happened in the house at all?
I mean, I've heard, and granted, these could just be exaggerations and rumors.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of crazy things, like they switched limbs, like from people. Yeah, just like crazy things.
Okay.
There's the story that's told of the crab girl. This is not documented at all, but it is a story that you'll hear on some of the ghost tours, that there was a young girl, a young slave that they kept in a crate, basically, and she was never able to stand up. And so basically it was kind of like her arms were back, and so she like just grew into like that position of being on all fours. And so when they were able to remove her from the crate, she could only kind of walk like a crab. She was never able to like stand up.
Yeah.
Again, not documented. That is one of the well-known stories there, the crab girl.
I heard they removed one bloke's leg while he was still alive. Apparently he was hopping mad.
Wow. But he was one step ahead of all the others.
He always put his best foot forward.
I think so too,
yeah. So we're repeating.
So the last basically she's gone to Paris, and that's the last. No one knows where she's died.
No. There are some stories.
Yeah. So,
all right, hold on a second. Let me just see. Okay, so I said, just like kind of the deaths of her first two husbands were unknown. The whereabouts of Dr. LaLaurie at the time of the fire and subsequent to his wife's flight from town remain a mystery. So again, nobody really knows what happens to him either. He was not innocent in all of this. He absolutely was doing. I mean, he was the doctor, so he was probably the one doing all of these weird nasty things.
I mean, what did their children make of this? I mean, what do they?
Maybe that's why they left the house so early.
Maybe. And it said that the two girls that were still there were whipped if they tried to feed the slaves. So they probably couldn't really do a whole hell of a lot. I mean, just for trying to feed them, they were whipped. So, yeah. So Paris records show that Delphine LaLaurie died at her home in Paris on December 7th, 1849. Her son-in-law signed her death record as a witness, and she was interred at the Cimetière de Montmartre. And then, so she was then exhumed on January 7th, 1851, and brought to New Orleans.
Really?
And it's Carl Tansler.
Right. Oh, Carl.
We got a fresh one.
Perfumes.
He's like,
we got a fresh one. Yeah,
a sexy beast over
That's
here.
right. He liked a cougar.
Cool.
So it's believed that she's buried in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, but there's no record of this. However, a mysterious epitaph plate discovered in the cemetery in 1941 was also thought to maybe be a hoax, but it stoked the legends that she'd returned to New Orleans before her death. I didn't write down. Basically, it says something that it was, here lies Madame Delphine LaLaurie, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember exactly.
Right.
So rumors, newspaper articles, and books have continued to keep Madame's story alive over the years.
So she was exhumed?
That's the story. She was exhumed from Paris and brought that nasty bitch back to New Orleans.
By who? Like, who did? Like her kids?
It might have.
It didn't say?
It didn't say. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it just says that she was exhumed.
Paris didn't want her.
No, they were like, get her out of here. Stanking up the place. So now the home itself, here's where the story gets interesting too. Not that it isn't already. So after the mob realized they'd fled, they tore apart the mansion, just completely left it in disrepair. There it sat, a hulking ruin for decades. You like how I made this like a story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, the mansion became the scene of ghostly tales, as people reported hearing the tortured shrieks of the slaves that were mistreated, echoing through the streets surrounding the home. Now, here's another story you might like. Yeah. So, in the days, and I don't have it written down, but I do believe this is one of the more valid claims that people would, after this fire and the house was kind of torn apart, immediately after that. That people walking by would hear screams. Cool. And they would think that, it was the ghost of slaves. And then I don't remember who, but some people went in, and maybe it was when they were tearing it up the house even more. They did find slaves like stuck in the basement. So the screams were actual people.
Yeah.
There were actual people screaming. They thought it was the ghost, but actually.
Yeah, but they were still there.
Oh my God.
I know. Yeah.
That's horrible.
I know. Yeah. So, in the 1850s, the mansion was refurbished, but it would never shake the curse of the events that had transfixed the city of New Orleans. Since 1837, the house has passed through several owners and was a multitude of things: Union headquarters during the Civil War, an early integrated school for young women, a home for delinquents, tenement, a music conservatory, saloon, furniture store, and the private residence of several owners, including one Nicolas Cage.
I knew Nicolas Cage.
He owned it from 2007 until 2009. Now, here's another story about the house. They believe it's cursed, and that anyone who owns it just basically their life falls apart. Their life falls apart.
So anyone who owns it goes on to make shit films. Yeah.
What do you mean? Ghost Rider was just a cinematic adventure.
I like National Treasure.
National Treasure is great.
But he owned the house, I think, after he made those films. So anything after that, kind of shady.
So there's
something.
Didn't he have like tax evasion?
He lost the house. It was sold at a bank auction for $2.3 million. I think it was when he declared bankruptcy
or whatever. And that's why
that happened when he owned the house. Right. So the house hasn't been owned by the same person for very long because people they lose their fortunes. Their life just goes into complete disrepair.
Yeah.
Right now, it's currently owned as it's a private residence owned by a Texas energy trader. It says Michael Whalen. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but it's not open to the public. And from what I have heard, it's not, he doesn't live there full time. Basically, he's only there for 2 weeks out of the year.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, you should definitely own a multi-million-dollar home to go to for a week.
There is a caretaker there.
Does he have lodges there? What about the people lodged there?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say.
You think he'd rent the rooms out? You think you'd rent the rooms out?
I don't think
like an Airbnb, wouldn't you? You'd run it as an Airbnb.
Would probably make plenty of money. I'm sure people would go to it just for the
I think
when Matt did the talk about the Lizzie Borden house,
right?
People know that someone's been fucking chopped up in there. Fucking game on. People,
I think he's got plenty of money. He doesn't need to worry about it, and he's just uses it for himself. Now, the current owner does admit to some weird events. They say they've seen body imprints in the beds, doors swinging shut, and faucets suddenly turning on.
Why do you think ghosts like to turn on faucets?
Right? They don't have hands to wash.
Maybe they're thirsty, Caitlin.
Where's it gonna go?
All right. I'm just saying, I feel like that's one of those things. I get the bed.
Yeah.
I get the door.
Right.
But why?
Maybe just
I'm going to waste water. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be an eco-friendly ghost. And I'm going to turn this water on and I'm going to let it go. That ghost is a dick.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you know what? These people were tortured.
So
I can turn the water on.
So they're here, we're turning the
getting
water.
you back.
Question, please.
Yes, Lee.
Question, please. Mr. Hazel at the back of the class has a question. Right. Do they do seances there?
I believe there have been seances done. No, not really. There was one show, and it's Katrina. I can't remember her name. It's called Portals to Hell. It has Jack Osborne and Katrina
Yes,
Whiteman, I think maybe her last name is. They went and they were the first like professional ghost hunters that have ever investigated the place. I don't know about amateur ghost hunters. They didn't say, they just said they were the first professional ones.
Right,
So
okay.
Did they
perhaps
find anything?
there was a lot of, it was a great epised. I definitely recommend it. Yeah, there was activity. There was, there's one room, they call it the secret room, and they believe that it was, I think like maybe part of the slave quarters. And there was a lot of weird shit that happened in that room.
You think that the room with the most activity is the one that they're all afraid of? Is it the top room?
Yeah, they said, the third floor, basically, like the attic.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It's been a little while since I watched it, but there was a lot of activity in the house. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the story of Delphine LaLaurie.
That story.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you were a poet right there. The story of Delphine LaLaurie.
Yes.
She's a poet and she doesn't know it. That's
I'd never heard of her.
Mother, so cool.
So I'd never heard of her. So it's been an education. But yeah, it's just there's so many fucked up people in this world, isn't there? I mean,
I can tell you, man. I've gone on a couple different ghost tours in New Orleans. Every time I go, like, I bring a different kid with me, and so I've gone on different ones with several different tours. And that house is creepy. Like, it's not just this. It's a giant house. It's kind of like a big square. It's 3 stories. It's very intimidating. It's like a gray color, kind of like the color of your shirt. It's like gray. It has, white trim, and it has like the cast iron, like a lot of the houses in New Orleans do. But it's just a very like dark, kind of foreboding house,
right? And
there's just something creepy.
Yeah.
It's the one that I got the like oogie boogie feeling around.
So you obviously get a lot of people taking pictures outside of it, and just it's a tourist trap, and so
Yeah, I mean, they do. You can't go in it, obviously, but they can take you there. I haven't ever gotten anything, but I know like that there are reports that people have gotten orbs and different things.
Makes sense.
There was one, I think this was on the show with Nick and Katrina. They interviewed a woman who did live there for a little while as a child, and she remembers seeing what looked like a young slave girl sitting on the roof. Once. Like. Ooh. Yeah.
So
and then she didn't know the story before. She was a little girl when she saw this girl. She had no idea of the story, but she says she remembers, and because it was kind of odd. Like, why is this young what looked to be like a slave girl sitting on the roof of our house?
Right. That's alarming.
Okay, it's a little weird. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing it, Lynn. Thank you.
Welcome. Good tale. Thanks. I feel like, brava.
Thank y'all.
Brava. We survived. Yay. Yay. That was really good. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
But I guess the real mystery is what happened to the husband, isn't it? The third husband.
Yeah, no one knows. I mean, that's the really shitty part of the whole story is that they basically got away with it and nothing happened to them. I mean, she had to move to Paris, poor thing.
They didn't have slavery in Paris though, did they?
I don't know.
Not to my knowledge. Well, I had the French Revolution, but that wasn't to do with slavery.
Well,
that
it's just like
aristocracy, but
in my head, I'm like, did she just go somewhere else and just do the same shit somewhere else, or did she like pack up all her torture tools and die?
I mean, good luck getting that through on the carousel when it comes round. Excuse me, those chains and that's mine. Excuse me. Yeah, can I just grab that? Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's just like a bunch. It's all of her slaves.
You got everything? Right.
And they all have red ribbons tied around them, so she knows that they're hers. I'm sorry. I got a joke about it.
I know it's hard. Like it's horrific to even think that this is. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, what's really weird too is I find it interesting that she has the reputation, right? Like everybody knows about Delphine LaLaurie, but before, so she was married twice before. I'm sure they had slaves also.
Right.
There were no rumors about her mistreating the slaves or anything until the third husband came along. So obviously she was a cranky bitch, like had some issues, but we don't know of her doing anything with slaves prior to the third husband. So was it really Delphine or was it the husband?
Well, wasn't the whipping thing?
The whipping thing, yes.
Was her.
Was her. That is, like I said, that is a well-known story. There's no record of it. There's no, if you look at her list of slaves, you know how they documented the slaves. There's no slave named Leah. There are young girls.
Right.
It could have been one of them, but there's no documentation that it actually happened. But I mean, they definitely were shady. It's just like, what happened? Like Dr. Fucking Nuts came along, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I could get away.
You know what? You know what we haven't tried in the. You know what we haven't tried, love. Yeah, we should try this. Yeah. Oh, really?
Right.
Why has nobody ever heard about him?
I'll try anything once.
About Delphine.
I know that's true. Well, maybe it's more alarming that it's a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because people don't want to believe that women can do those things, especially in that time period.
Right.
Yeah.
So to have a woman who was powerful and do all of that.
That is true. And, she had, the house was in her name. She was the one who had the money, not her husband.
Right.
She was very well known. Her family was very well known.
Yeah. She was a bad bitch.
Yeah. She was.
Yeah.
He came along and just was like,
yeah.
All right, let's do this.
And then she was like a really bad bitch.
Yeah.
She started off strong. She was like power suit. Yeah. She had like her power pantsuit on. She was like, I'm going to buy this house. And then all of a sudden she's chopping up fucking people. Like, what are you
Well, they were probably encouraging each other.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Probably.
Yeah, I guess so.
Probably encouraging each other to go further, to go one more, like who could be the baddest?
Energetic.
Eager to please in his 20s. That's why I want to be a cougar.
That was really good, Lynn. That was really good. So, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well,
So it was really good.
Do you know what? As I was having a pirate's piss, as they say, upstairs, I was thinking, do you know what? All the years and the decades of slavery, you think how much of that was going on behind closed doors in all these different plantations, all in the South, and the plantations, and that was going. These slaves were kind of lucky in the sense that people broke in and rescued them. How many people didn't get that pleasure? In the middle of nowhere.
I mean, there was enough of that going on that they made the law to not do that. So they had to pass a law to be like,
you can't maim your slaves.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
so
but how many people still broke that law and basically
in other areas too,
and paid other people off that were inspecting it?
Yeah. I'm sure.
I mean,
and in other areas of the U.S., it was brutal. It was like it's hard.
Yeah, it's
depressing.
we do nothing but cheerful stuff on this episode.
America. All I can think is
America. Fuck yeah.
Hold my beer while I go play these slaves. Like, really?
I know. It's just
it's a lot.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
I can't. My brain can't.
I can't comprehend.
Wrap my brain around it.
Well, no, I mean, it makes you want to think that, or hope that there really is hell somewhere.
Yes.
And these people are literally just burning in hell.
Right.
Being literally just burning in hell for what they've done.
I think that's the worst part of the story, is that they basically got away with it and didn't have any repercussions.
Right.
Like, she had to move to Paris. Like,
oh, boo-hoo. Bread and cheese and wine.
Right.
Your life is terrible.
Horrible.
And beautiful men.
Right.
But French people don't wash at the same time, Caitlin, so.
Neither
this
do
is the
I.
1800s, so nobody washed.
Well, no. Just joking. Stop. This guy's sorry, France.
Oh,
Sorry,
see,
France.
I'm off my game.
Yeah, right. You could tell we're tired. We didn't even know.
I'm like, good. Fucking good, stinky French bastards.
No, when I was in my middle school, we had this foreign exchange thing where English kids would go to France and stay in the French homes, and then the French kids would stay in the English homes. And my mate Adam, he used to fucking say, he used to have this French student living with him in his house, He said he's only bought one fucking set of clothes. That's it for 10 days. He's like, he's not fucking washed or used a shower. He just gets up, wears the same fucking clothes.
Maybe he was just a teenage boy.
Right. I was going to say he's a teenage boy. I don't know that.
No, and then you get talking to other people in the school saying, yeah, their students are exactly the same. I wonder what he's going to wear today. Hey,
They're very economical, the French.
You know what? I'm not going to
like-
judge. Yeah, because I'm a dirty bitch. So I really am. Like, I fucking hate showering and like, ugh.
Before we started, we were both like, when's the last time I washed my hair?
Have you seen me scratching my head this whole time? Bitch, wash
You
it.
haven't got lice, have you, Caitlin?
No, there's no lice. It's just scalp.
Yeah.
It's better. That's what I tell myself. It's better for you.
I'm a professional.
That's right.
A hair professional.
If Caitlin can do it, then it means it's good for my hair.
I don't know if it's. I don't know how long is.
Well, you know, when you spend £11 on a haircut, you know, you want to show it off, don't you? I mean,
You want to look good, I guess.
You got to flaunt.
well, in case your mum's watching the show, Lynn, you know, we've got to,
Never know. Dare to dream, Lee. Dare to dream.
Hey, I'll just take the time.
Oh, Lord. Lee's getting naked. And on that note,
With your father, Lee, I would appreciate it if you did not do that.
I mean, imagine that. That can't be worth asking your mum out for the sole reason you'd have to call me dad, Lynn. That would be just fucking brilliant, wouldn't it?
that's disgusting.
It is.
It's so weird because I just pictured having to be like, "Hey, Dad." Fun fact: I have a couple girlfriends, and we call each other Dad, and like or Daddy, and it gets real weird when you're like people don't understand, and you're standing there going, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and your friend is like, "What?" And people are like, "What the fuck?" And I work with one of the girls, so I do it all the time. I'll be out back and I'll be like, "Dad, Dad, come over here, Dad," and then like I come out and people are like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Right. It's your dad.
I'm like, yes, this is my dad. Her name is.
She's 25.
She's the best dad. I
Yeah.
actually blame that dad for my condition today. So on that note,
Right.
we're gonna say goodbye because I kind of forgot that we were recording this.
Right.
So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for doing all the stuff. Like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah.
Tell your doctor. Tell your doctor.
Tell your doctor.
Tell your
Yeah.
hairstylist.
Tell your hairstylist.
Tell
Tell
the
her to
people that
tell
answer the door.
everyone.
When you go down, knock down Ginger, if they answer it before you won't tell them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Tell your pizza delivery man. And on that note, go fuck yourselves. Thank you so much. You have a great day. Wonderful.
What are you, nuts?
What are you, nuts?
What are you, nuts?
Hold the elevator.
Oh, no. Yeah. Are you waiting for the elevator?